Hi, y'all. Welcome to Voyage's Goal Setting Workshop. Really quick introduction. My name is Brittany Canizero. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I am one of the Assistant Directors of Residence Life here in Revelle College.
Hi, everyone. My name is Stephanie Estrada. Pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am the Student Success Coach for Revelle College students.
We are so happy you're here. I will speak for myself. I'm super passionate about goal setting. I think it's so necessary and something that you will continue to do throughout the rest of your life, not just in college. So we're going to jump in. This presentation is not too long. And then you will, on the back end, log into Canvas and submit a submission for this specific workshop. So we're going to jump right in. So here we go.
So today in this workshop, what we're going to discuss is understanding why goal setting is important. As Britt kind of alluded to, she really is into goal setting, long and short term, but we're going to get into the why that's important, especially as a student who's busy with co-curriculars and classes and all of those things, right? We're going to discuss effective ways to create and set your own goals, because as I can remember being a student, I would set a lot of goals that didn't always get completed. And by the end of this workshop, we're going to have you all set 2 to 3 of your own goals that you will be sharing on Canvas. And just a quick reminder, at the end of this workshop, you will be tasked to complete a short reflection, submit it to Canvas. And the reflection must be completed and submitted in order to receive credit for this workshop. So we'll talk a little bit about that towards the end, or at the end of the presentation today.
Awesome. So why is goal setting important? It gives you long and short-term motivation, helps you organize your time, focus, and resources, enables you to utilize your acquired knowledge that make the most out of your time in life. And writing your goals down is important, and saying your goals out loud to someone else is also important and holds you accountable. So these are just the beginning steps that people don't often think about when they think of goals. It's just like, oh, that sounds great. Like, I'll just set that goal, and then they may or may not hit it. And so the key and reflection that we kind of want to put in front of you today is like, what makes the difference between setting a goal and actually accomplishing those goals? What increases your likelihood of hitting those achievable goals? And how do you set a goal that isn't like so far beyond what you know is realistic that it's like, that sounds great, but it's not going to happen? How do you do tangible goals that you are actually able to hit?
So when we talk about goals, we often, just think of like this one thing that we want to accomplish, which, that's a big part of it. But I think want you all to take a deeper look into like, well, when you're creating those goals, what else is reflective, right? So we talk about, or we want you to think about why, like the purpose of your goal, right? Is it unique to you? Is it unique to your situation? Is it unique to your grander, bigger plan? Or like, what's the vision that completing this goal fulfills, right? Is it short-term? Is it long-term? Is it for this life that you want to create? And then we want you to think about how the goal aligns with your values, and also like the different contributions that you will need to have, or that it'll take to complete the goals. And I say that because when we think about goals, I don't think we often think about like who else or what else can help us in achieving those things, right? We think it's just like, I'm going to do this. But sometimes it really takes a village to help you get to this like accomplishment phase of the goals that you're setting for yourself, right? So I want you to pause, the video at this point, and I'm going to ask you all to take like a minute or two to just really look at this graph and or look at this chart, I guess, and reflect on like what sticks out to you out of these words. Like, what is it that speaks to you the most? And kind of just sit with that for a second. So pause, take as long as you need. You can pause this for a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. And when you're ready, come back to us in this video. And really, like, let's say for me, I'll talk about myself. I think of the purpose. That's the word that sticks out to me the most. And to me, the purpose, the way I connect with my goals is, you know, my overall purpose of the work that I'm doing. And I think about it quarter by quarter, right? Like, what is the big purpose of this quarter? Is it to fulfill, you know, my work duties in the best way that I can? Is it to create more balance in my life? Or is it even on my own, like the professional development that I'm aiming to achieve within that quarter? But there's purpose behind all of those things, right? Britt, do you want to talk a little bit about any word that sticks out to you?
Yeah, no, I think that was great stuff. I think that a lot of times our goals are shaped by our values. And so that's something that when you're staring at this graph right here, let me think, how do I phrase this correctly? I think that they all intersect correctly, and a goal can be like, what is my vision for my life? Okay, so that's a huge question. What's my vision? So if you dissect that a little bit, when you're envisioning your life and the life that you want, a lot of what will come into play is like, okay, so when I'm envisioning my greatest life, what's going to easily pop in is your values. What do you value most? What are the things that do you feel like will make you happiest? That could be any number of things for any different person, which then kicks into uniqueness of like, you are you and your vision for your life is yours alone. A lot of times that even takes work to separate what we feel like our families or our friends or the presentation of ourselves that we want the world to see will kick in as far as like our goals, like who are we trying to please with our life and with our goals. And like Steph was saying, like purpose, it all circles around like your purpose also. Like you wouldn't set a goal for something that you weren't actively trying to work towards, which would in theory walk alongside what you view as your purpose, which correlates to your values and your uniqueness as a person. Hopefully that also is some type of contribution to the greater good, hopefully, where like your goals can be not just benefiting you, but benefiting others, where a lot of people might set a goal of like doing some volunteer work or like where it makes them feel good, but also they feel good about what they're bringing to someone else. And that touches on maybe my values of being altruistic and my purpose of like caring for others and building connections and relationships. So I'm kind of circling all of it, but I think that for me, my word is values, because I think when I set a goal, it's like, well, what am I valuing with this goal? A lot of people jump right to health goals. Like I remember when I first was doing workshops like this, I was like, oh, it's my goal to run a half marathon. I hate running, but it was like an easy goal of like, let me just run a half marathon. I didn't end up doing it until 2 years ago when I did a session just like this, when I got pushed to do a buy-in, which we will jump into in a little bit, but to be able to say, I will run a half marathon by December 2018. And I had to name that and say it. And that was me valuing like my health, which is an absolutely fair goal. That's not a lesser goal at all, but was something of like, that wasn't necessarily about my contribution to anyone besides myself, but that was me naming that I was going to do something difficult that I didn't normally want to do, but that I felt would be beneficial to how I envision my best well-rounded life would look like, would be to push myself to run a half marathon. And I went to Vancouver and I did it in August 2018. So it's really, and that was so satisfying to like set a goal, name a goal, do the goal. So all that to say, I'm going to get off my soapbox now, but I hope that that helps a little bit as you're dissecting. These aren't just like pretty words and like cliche things that you want to just like name, be like, oh, but this is my purpose and it's because I'm unique. But like really sit with, why are your goals the goals that they are? Where is your head going to first? And what does that say about your purpose right now for your life? What does that say about the way you want to contribute right now? And so to dive a little deeper beyond like, I want to make $1 million by the time I'm 30. Great. And what does that mean about what you value and what you want to contribute? And what are you going to do with that $1 million? So to dive a little deeper beyond just like writing 5 things that you want down and then calling them goals. Hopefully that makes sense. So like Steph said, go ahead and press pause on this video. We will be right back.
Thanks, Britt. I think it's just, going back, I'll say it one more time before we move on to the next slide. I think it's really wrapping it up and being intentional about what you're setting and why, right? So I think that this diagram helps you think about that. So when we say, pause and reflect, we really do mean pause and reflect and think about it, because we want you to be successful in reaching your goals. And I think being intentional and thinking about them on a deeper level really helps create that or put that into action. So we'll go ahead and move on.
Perfect. So we're going to get going into the actual writing of your goals. So you're going to write your goal using definitive language with enough details so you know what success looks like. So this is a little bit of what I was talking about on the previous slide. So you need to know when you can accomplish that goal. So instead of saying like, I want to, you use the verbiage of I will to start a goal expressing a strong intention, saying that you are determined and you're driven to accomplish those things. So it's not I want, it's I will. And every time you write a goal from here on out, and not just for this workshop, it's I will do this by when. I love this quote where it says the proper role of goals is to liberate us so that we can enjoy the here and now. So you hear all the time people talk about, I follow a bunch of like motivational speakers on Instagram, and it's always like, enjoy the journey, enjoy the journey. So it's something where I make my peace with maybe working on something to better myself, even if I'm not there yet, because I know that I'm in process and I'm committed to reaching a goal. So it allows me, to that quote's credit, to enjoy more of where I am right now, even if I'm not where I want to be, because I already am aware of it and I'm working towards it. So within that, you're setting a date to have it completed. So the ideal completion date for a goal is roughly between 6 and 18 months. So like I'll take my half marathon, for example. I set that goal at the beginning of the year of 2018, and I gave myself an entire 12 months to do it. I did it month 8. So this keeps you feeling actively engaged, where like when I was saying, I want $1 million by the time I'm 30, if that's 10 years from now for you, it's like, yeah, sure. Are you going to be thinking about that goal every day for the next 10 years? Doubt it. Maybe, but doubt it. So if you have a long-term goal, working backwards to identify a step you can complete in the next 6 to 18 months that will move you closer to your long-term goal. If your goal is $1 million by 30, and I'm sorry that that's one I keep harping on, but maybe it's, I want to hit 500K in the next 5 years. I want to save that. And so then it's like, okay, so back it up a little bit. Maybe I want to save 100K in the next 2 years, whatever. This is kind of unrealistic. Y'all are in college, but you get what I'm saying. We're like, that's what I mean by backtracking. If you have this really big goal, getting into medical school, getting into whatever, what are the tangible goals that you can set that you can be actively engaged in? And those are keywords, actively engaged in, as you work towards that big goal. As it was saying, this will keep you focused on your big dream and can often help you achieve it sooner than you thought. So there's like stats behind that. So if you have a big goal where you're like, easy, I know my goal, what are your tangible ways that you can accomplish things in the next 6 to 18 months working towards that? If you have a habit forming goal, decide how often you'll do it and when you'll start. A lot of times people have little like habits in their mind that they're like, oh, I wish I was better at this. This is super silly. I'll use myself an example. I always wanted to be someone that but put on face lotion going to bed, because but I never did it because I was like, meh, and I'd go to bed. And then I was like, oh, you need to preserve your skin. So then I started actively working on making a habit of putting on face lotion before I went to bed. Sounds so stupid, but legit, it was a thing that I had to actively work on. And now it's a habit. And now I don't think twice. And I'm like, pop, pop, ping, ping, before I go to bed every night. So we're going to have you press pause one more time. And there's 2 prompts that you have right now. Is the big things that I'm really committed to achieving are, I want you to finish that sentence. What I want to be doing consistently or daily is, finish that sentence. It doesn't have to be just one thing, but this is to get your mind thinking a little bit about new habits that you are not currently doing, new things that you want, that you envision about the best life you could possibly have that you want to achieve in the future. Steph, do you want to add anything more on that?
No, I just think, again, I think reminding you of like where you're at. So I think Britt gave really good examples of like, big long-term goals for her, and just, general examples. So if that sometimes can be like, well, I don't know what those goals are yet, think about it, like I said, quarter to quarter, right? Or being a student, if a lot of my students are like, I want to get straight A's this quarter, or I want to get this GPA so I can get into med school. Think about it in those terms as well. And then like Britt described, just backtrack into what does that actually mean. But for this portion, complete the 2 prompts, which is, one is a habit forming goal and one is the long-term goal. And go ahead and pause for as long as you need to complete those 2 prompts. And so hopefully you've allowed yourself enough time to think about those 2 prompts and, circle back a little bit to the slide before when we're looking at that diagram about all the different things that you should be thinking about while you're kind of creating these goals for yourself, right? So look at your paper and review your responses to these phrases. The key to your goals here is to really represent your most important future and or immediate goals. And so it's, this is like you're creating your own storybook here, and it's time to really make sure that the goals that you're setting for yourself are reflective of those things. And these are just examples that we want to give you. So the big things that I'm really committed to achieving are, I'll use mine as examples for you. So the big things that I'm really committed to achieving are professional development opportunities that lead to a PhD program, right? So the long-term goal here is to get into a PhD program, but I'm looking at opportunities that will get me there. And then moving backwards, if I were to move backwards in what that long-term goal for me, it would be like, okay, well, what programs am I looking for? Are there deadlines for those applications? What are the requirements? And looking at the requirements, what am I lacking? And then what do I need to identify in order to like have me fulfill those requirements when I'm applying to those things, right? And what I want to be doing consistently or daily. This is actually my New Year's intention. It was to the intention was to not be on my phone first thing in the morning when I wake up. So I set my what I want to be doing consistently is to practice a guided like stretching. So not meditation, because I know that I'm not into meditation and I've tried it before. I've set those goals and those goals have never been completed, but it has been to do a daily guided stretching. And so I identified that I want to do it daily. And I downloaded an app that has that for me. So that's been like the thing. And I know I have it on the front, like home screen of my phone, so that when I turn my alarm off, I can see the app like there ready for me to click. But I will be honest, I said daily, but I realized that that actually was not working for me. So I've adjusted my consistently to have it be 3 times a week. So I'm starting now at 3 times a week to build up. And I think that that's something important to acknowledge that you can revise it to actually fit like what you're actually capable of doing and like what your capacity is, right? Because I think oftentimes that's like the hole we fall in, where we like create these unrealistic things to do. And so when you're setting these habit forming goals, like think about what you're capable of doing in that moment. So I know Britt, yours wasn't like, let me just run a marathon, a month in after I haven't ran maybe consistently for a long time. So yeah.
I want to know what that app was.
It's the Balance app.
Nice. All right, y'all. So you are going to write some more goals. So we did a long-term one, we did a habit forming one, and those, it's very important to make that differentiation of like, goals aren't meant to be intimidating, which I feel like before I again got really excited about goals, it was like, yeah, like goals are things that I'll hit in the future. Like I set financial goals. And like to have things that are tangible that I can accomplish now, it is so true that it keeps you engaged and keeps you committed to those things. This is what I was talking about when I was talking about earlier with the buy wins. So now you're going to take separate goals. So you're going to walk away hopefully with 5-ish goals after this workshop. You now are going to do a 3 to 5 goals that will support you in living your purpose and vision, which we didn't do a super deep dive into your purpose and vision in this exact workshop, but it's good for you to be thinking about that. And it's a really centering exercise of like, what is my purpose? Like, what am I most passionate about? What do I want my life to stand for? What's my vision for my life? And then continuing to set goals that cater to that vision and to that purpose. So kind of what we talked about earlier in the other slides about considering your reach, the definition, and your time. So examples of I will learn to surf by July 2021. I will complete an adventure race with my best friend by August 2022. I will write in my gratitude journal daily for 90 days starting March 2021. Those are things that you're considering the reach, you're defining the goal, and you're giving yourself time. So this is your kind of layout that we want you to use. And this is the stuff you will also be inputting into Canvas. I will blank starting by blank. The bonus of this is having a partner or a friend, roommate, suite mate, whoever, family member, hear you utter these goals, because some of these goals are completely life-changing. Some of these goals are going to open your mind into things that you didn't know were possible. Like, I'll take myself, for example. I hate running. I never thought in a million bajillion years that I would go run 13 miles without stopping, and I did it. So what does that tell me now? Now, 2 years later, 2.5 years later, I know that I can run. I don't like it, but I know that I can do it. And so now I still try and run 1 to 2 times a week where I push myself into going running because I know it's good for my body. And that started because of a goal I set to run a half marathon. So like there's some really rad benefits that come from that, of like hitting a goal that you set for yourself. There's like a special type of high that comes from that. So highly encourage you to really connect to the goals that you set, commit to them, engage with them. And then I think you'll be so amazed by the things that you start to accomplish like pretty regularly. And then you're like, wow, I'm so strong. So that's what we want for you. So pass it back to you, Steph.
So we want to make sure you paused after the last slide to take some time to really think about those goals that you're setting, of the, your buy whens, right? So you're making sure that they're timely, that they're measurable, that you're creating a goal that is like you'll be able to know when it's going to be achieved, right? So not this like make $1 million and it's like, okay, when, or where does that exist? So make sure that you take as much time as you need to complete that. But we just wanted to share another slide before we wrap up the workshop on like other things that you can be thinking about or like listening to or checking out if you want to learn more about goal setting. So Succeed, How We Can Reach Our Goals by Dr. Heidi Grant Halverson. She wrote this book and she talks about like these counterintuitive insights and stories and science-based information that is really set to help anyone at whatever stage they are in like goal setting, right? So she talks about setting a goal to pursue even in the face of adversity. So as a student, especially a student during a pandemic, there's been a lot of obstacles that you've encountered, whether it's been having to move back home or being around a lot more people and what that means, adjusting to a new quarter, right? Like being able to successfully complete your classes when you have all of these external responsibilities now. So I think it's important even in this environment to know that you can be setting goals for yourself and achieving them. She talks about building willpower, which can be strengthened like a muscle. So I think it's important to note that, we have not always been great at setting and working on goals consistently, but you can get to that point where you are setting these very realistic, very manageable goals that you set for yourself and actually completing them. So it's a good reminder that it's something that can be worked on. And then the last point we wanted to share based off of the information she talks about is how to avoid the kind of positive thinking that makes people fail. And I feel like we've all heard like all of those like different cliches that I think when you're kind of struggling to maybe set goals or work on your goals, like this like fake positivity is like really counterintuitive. Like it really affects you. So I love that they highlight that in the book. And whoever you want to motivate, Succeed unlocks the secret of achievement and shows you how to create new possibilities in every area of your life. So that's what the book really does. In terms of if you want to look into reading more about it and learning more about goal setting. And we actually have like a 3-minute clip from a Lululemon like workshop that is about goal setting. So we're going to play that for you now.
Let's talk about turning practices into habits. Over the years, you've probably made more than a few lists of practices that you'd like to adopt. And right now, that skeptical voice in your head has probably just reminded you that it didn't work out last time. That you abandoned your New Year's resolutions within days, and all those promises to go to bed earlier every night didn't really happen because, well, there was Breaking Bad to watch, then Game of Thrones, then Stranger Things. Who could blame you? But it'll be different this time, right? There's an old proverb that says, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. It's true, with any new thing we do, we have to start somewhere. The thing is, the starting is easy. In a journey of 1,000 miles, the first step is lovely. You are refreshed, you have clean socks, you've had a nice breakfast, the sun is shining, and you're excited about your adventure. Where it gets interesting is about 150 miles in. That's when your feet are sore and you've run out of food and you're tired, it's cold and it's raining. That's the hard part. And that's when most of us come unstuck. In any new practice that you want to establish, the first bit is easy. It's mindful. Because it's new, you have to be deliberate about it. The difficulty maintaining a new practice is when life gets in the way, usually a few days in, when the mindful intention has started to wear off. So how can we make it easier for ourselves? Well, what we can do is make use of something that comes naturally to us, and that's anticipation. Imagine for a moment that you're reaching out your hand and placing the palm of your hand flat against a cold window. What does it feel like? I bet you can imagine very clearly what that sensation is. But how do you know? You know because you've done it before, and you can easily recall what it feels like. Basically, you have spent your whole life learning about the world around you so that you can anticipate what happens next at any time. Imagine if you had to learn everything from scratch every day. I mean, you'd never get anything done. Forget being able to drive a car, you'd be struggling to put your pants on. And the way we cope with this is by developing habits. Habits are by definition the things we do without even thinking about them. Ideally, you want your new practices to become habits, to become things you do without even thinking. And the best way to do this is to attach them to something that you already do. Let's say, for example, you wanted to bring the practice of daily meditation into your life. The best way to do this is to attach that behaviour to a behaviour that you already do every day, such as waking up, or having a glass of water, or brushing your teeth. The act of joining those two behaviours together makes it more likely to become a part of your daily routine. Likewise, if you want to stop a practice that you feel isn't helpful for you, then you need to disrupt the current behaviour pattern that you associate with it. So for example, if you find that when you go to bed at night, the last thing you do is check your phone and it makes it hard for you to settle, try charging your phone in another part of the house. And habits don't form overnight. The associations that we're creating can take about 3 to 4 weeks to become hardwired into your brain. So if you stumble along the way, don't worry. It's part of being human. Just celebrate your humanness and have another go. This has been Denise Hampson from Whitespace.
All right, I hope you all enjoyed that. So let's go ahead and wrap up our workshop today.
So next steps, also, I've always loved her voice. I feel like it rocks me to sleep. I'm like, oh, I could listen to this on my way to bed. Anyways, so next steps, you're gonna log on to Canvas and you're gonna submit your goals. It's under the level 2 for Voyage, which is Beacon, or not Beacon, Anchor, I'm sorry. The personal professional development submission number 6 is tied to this workshop. You're going to share your long-term goal, your habit forming goal, and only one of your 3 to 5 goals with your buy when on it. So a lot of times, I think, again, we've said it before, when you name when it is, you are far more likely to accomplish that goal. So after you write those goals down, you're going to just give us a paragraph or two about how writing these goals make you feel. How confident are you that you can achieve the goals that you set? How will you hold yourself accountable to follow through with them? And then you're going to reflect on those answers and submit them below for credit, and you will be done with this workshop. So hopefully you got something out of it. I think if you utilize this model all throughout your life, where you use it as like a reset, and then to like hit the goal, then you hit it, check the box, reset, new goals, you will continue leveling up as you go. And it gets just progressively more and more exciting and empowering and fun to be like, I know I can do this. I've also created a habit of hitting my goals. So it becomes exciting to reset those goals. So hopefully you can tap into that energy and commit yourself to bettering yourself, which is of course the goal that we all have. So enjoy. Hope you learned something from this. We're so excited that you are even watching this workshop. So we will move into our last slide.
Yeah, so just a reminder, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to email us at Voyage, or you can also email us through Canvas, and make sure that after you submit your goals on Canvas, to put them up somewhere or have them saved on your notes on your phone or something, so you can always go back to them and remember what you're working on, right? But other than that, thank you all so much for joining us. Remember you can rewatch this as many times as you want, but we'll see you in the next workshop.